Oh my God,
Oh.
it's record.
Can I share screen? I've just done a little PowerPoint on 4 Kumaras.
Excellent. Yes, yes. Okay, go for it.
Okay. Oh, let me just see. Am I on the first slide? Yeah. Okay, so the 4 Kumaras, they're one of the 12 Mahajans. And obviously, you know, they are amazing personalities, although they are 4 Kumaras, but they kind of regarded as like one entity, if you know what I mean. They're all 4 together. So you can't say one is separate from the other, but these are the 4 Kumaras. And their obviously names are Sanata Kumar, Sanandana, and Sanatana. So the 4 sages were the firstborn sons of Brahma. And Brahma wanted to create the whole cosmic situation as it was in the previous millennium. So this indicates that obviously this creation, cosmic creation, goes through creation, maintenance, and dissolution. Then again, creation, maintenance. So it's the nature of material cosmic manifestation. But at the same time, so the previous millennium obviously had just gone. Brahma wanted to recreate again, and he wanted to create as it was in the previous. But he said that in the last devastation, the knowledge of the absolute truth was altogether erased from the universe. And he desired the same knowledge to be kind of renovated. But this is the knowledge of the absolute truth. So otherwise, there would be no meaning to the creation as well. So there has to be some knowledge. So you can imagine, there's a question here. What would be the situation if there was no knowledge of the absolute? I mean, you can participate. If not, you can just discuss or think about it. But if there was no knowledge of the absolute truth, and Brahma didn't create that aspect,
we wouldn't have the opportunity to return back to Godhead, right? Which is one of the main functions of this material world, to give us that opportunity to fail so badly that we realize there is no other way.
That's right. There are all the living entities that were there in the previous manifestation in the millennium. They were all in a dormant state in Vishnu. Then when they recreated, all the living entities come back and they have to recreate, and the universe is kickstarted again, like rebooting the whole thing, I suppose. But Lord Brahma has to do all that. And he's also partly wondering how it's going to happen. So yeah, you're right. You know, if there was no knowledge of the absolute, then the living entities wouldn't have a chance. That's what the Supreme Lord wants. He wants to give us a chance for the living entities to go back, to become self-realized, go back home, back to Godhead. But you know, without that knowledge, you can't. So obviously, these 4 sanas or the Sanat Kumaras were the incarnation of knowledge of the Supreme Lord. So they're actually incarnate of that absolute knowledge. And they explain this knowledge, the sages, very explicitly, and then they assimilate it without any difficulty. So all the other sages, when the 4 Kumaras are explaining, it becomes easier. And that's their, 4 Kumaras. But what actually will happen is that they refuse to propagate and fulfill the mission of Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma said, you need to go and recreate and create progeny and all that. But why did the 4 Kumaras refuse? Anybody?
Yeah.
they were in full knowledge.
Yeah.
They had the full transcendental knowledge. So they knew what the consequences are. they didn't want to get entangled themselves in the material activities. So they refused, they rebelled. They said, no, we're not going to do any of that. And so Lord Brahma kind of got angry, he was disappointed. And through his anger, Rudra gets manifested then. Because there's a picture here, there's Rudra. And without these four Kumaras rebelling, then creating the anger, this aspect of Rudra wouldn't manifest. And there is Lord Brahma, gets a bit angry, and out of the nose Rudra comes. Then Rudra creates, he's asked him to create, but he creates his identical like Rudras, so many, and they start to cause havoc in the universe. And even Lord Brahma gets disappointed. Then he has to pacify. And so that aspect, I'm not going to go into it, but obviously that's the consequence of Sanatan four Kumaras. So then four Kumaras actually go to the Vaikuntha lok, and then on the way, obviously, they were blocked by Jay and Vijay. And then they kind of curse them and say, how can you not let us go? Because the four Kumaras were slightly leaning towards impersonalism to start with, They, and the four Kumaras cursed Jay and Vijay. As a result, we have pastimes of Hiranyaksh, Hiranyakashipu, Lord Varaha, then there's Prahlad Maharaj, then Narsingadev. So without them cursing Jay and Vijay, then Hiranyaksh wouldn't push the earth into the ocean, and Lord Varaha wouldn't have to. That's what happens. And then Hiranyakashipu gets angry, and then his pastimes. So we're not going into those pastimes. We're talking about four Kumaras, but this is the consequence of their situation. But four Kumaras then obviously go into when Lord Vishnu appears, they go into the transcendental. That's the pastime, Lord Varaha and Hiranyaksh and all that. So that pastime comes about. And then when the four Kumaras actually go and visit the Vaikuntha, then in the Vaikuntha, they see the Supreme Lord, and then they get the fragrance of the Tulsi leaves. And then their transcendental senses are kind of like ignited or something. And then they get this personal sort of pure devote, they start to realize the aspect of the personality of the Supreme Lord. So they were inclined towards impersonalism. They visited Vaikuntha, smelled the fragrance of garlands, Tulsi from the lotus feet, and then they got transformed to pure devotees after that. So they give up their impersonal aspects. They also visited Prithu Maharaj later on, and then that's what they four Kumaras do. They actually, pastimes of Prithu Maharaj, we're not going into the pastimes, but we're just mentioning. The four Kumaras are the Parampara spiritual masters of Vaishnav Sampradayas. So out of the four Sampradayas, Brahma Sampradaya, Sri Sampradaya, Kumara Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya. So Kumaras actually had that disciplic succession from spiritual master to disciple. So they actually had a very important Sampradaya as well. So that's a little bit about the four Kumaras, and that much for this time anyway. Thank you, Haribol. Four Kumaras, Ki Jai.
Hi.
Any questions by anybody?
Any questions? Yeah.
Or anything that you've heard as well you'd like to share?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, everyone. Prabhuji, you said about they came across Tulsi in where was it? Was it in heaven, in the Vaikuntha, or where the four Kumaras saw Tulsi?
No, they go to the Vaikuntha.
Okay.
They visit Vaikuntha. So the four Kumaras, the sages, they're a bit like Narad Muni, they can go wherever they want. And they go into the Vaikuntha, and that's where they come across Jaya and Vijay at the gate.
Yeah.
And they were cursed, they were stopped by Jaya and Vijay, said, who are you young boys, you can't go into, but that's arranged by the Supreme Lord, these all pastimes, because that's how Jaya and Vijay, fall into
So was it that kind of, they lost their senses. That's why they cursed the doorkeepers, and then they saw Tulsi, and then they regained it. Is it?
Yeah, they regained their transcendental spirit, because they were, while they were in the material world, when they were first created, they had the knowledge of the absolute, but they were not involved in bhakti as such. Bhakti is actually enjoying the rasas, the moods, the engaging senses in the spiritual. It's a bit like, when the transcendentalists, they seek for liberation and they get this impersonal Brahman, they don't actually engage in any kind of service or in transcendental senses. They're not engaged in. But that's why in bhakti, we dovetail our senses. And that's why we enjoy prasadam. There are some yogis who, I had a friend a long time ago, and he got into transcendental, he turned into a bit of a yogi. And he said, no, I want to deny my senses. So what he would do is he would get prasad plate, and just because he didn't want to enjoy the taste of sweet, salt, sour, or anything like that, he said, I'm supposed to deny all that, So he was caught up in this philosophy of this yogic. So he would mix all his food, so he wouldn't get any taste of sweet, sour, or anything, and just mix all the food. And that's how he used to eat all the food. I said, how can you enjoy that now? It's all like just mashed up food now. How are you going to eat that? He said, no, but that's my spiritual practice. I'm not going to deny the pleasure of my own senses. I said, well, you can't do that. So some people got into that kind of thing about denying. That's why, Maya, this, not this. So, rather than that, we have to engage our senses in the service of, so we hear about Krishna, we see the forms of Krishna, we enjoy the prasadam, if it's a sweet, gulab jambu, yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope
Thank you,
that
Babaji.
helps.
Thank you.
I think
That sounds like...
what happened was that from the Bhagavatam, I seem to recall, you're absolutely right, Madhusan Prabhu. The four Kumaras, they were cursing Jay and Vijay. The Lord heard the curse, and he was coming, he came out, and as he came out, they smelled the tulsi on the lotus feet of the Lord, and that converted them from impersonalism to personalism. I think that's what the Bhagavatam says, which is very interesting. And as you said, that's in Vaikuntha. They visited Vaikuntha. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else, any questions? Otherwise, who would like to go next?
I'll go.
Oh, Aruna. Okay.
Get out of the way.
Great.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Hare
Aruna.
Krishna.
Yes, sir, Rohit.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Hare Krishna.
We can
I
hear
have a
you.
question.
Yes, go ahead.
Hare Krishna.
Ask the question.
Yeah, Prabhu, we can
Okay,
hear you.
okay,
Go
sorry.
on.
Because I am keeping my earphones. So, as you told that Jaya Vijay got cursed, right? And so, in material world, something bad should be happened for good, right? Is it giving meaning like that to every devotee? Like one of devotees saying that I want more sorrows so that I can chant the holy name. So I don't want happiness. So is it like that?
It's like Kunti Mata, no? She was asking for trouble
Uh,
in order to remember Krishna.
yeah, not only Kunti Mata, all
Yeah,
even
no,
Bhaktivinoda Thakur was saying in
yeah.
Sharanagati songs.
But if in this Kali Yuga, you don't ask for trouble. Trouble will just come anyway. If you ask for trouble, you will get trouble. All we do is we just surrender to the Lord. Don't ask for trouble because it is going to come in Kali Yuga anyway.
Okay.
So what we do is we just chant and read and associate with the devotees, don't ask for any trouble, because it will come. And if you ask for double trouble, it will be so overwhelming that it'll completely destroy anything that we do. Just don't ask for trouble. Just ask for help from the Lord. Like Prabhupada said, when he's chanting, he asks
Okay.
for help.
Yeah, so when we have challenges, then, you know, it reminds us of the situation, and we think of the Supreme Lord. But if you're just enjoying, then we get engrossed in the enjoyment, and then we forget the Supreme Lord. So that's actually the situation where Jaya and Vijay here were, it's just the way Lord's pastimes and Krishna wanted that kind of pastime to unfold. And as you can see, without them cursing or without that incident happening at the gates of the Vaikuntha and Jaya and Vijay stopping the four Kumaras, then as a, you know, they wouldn't be Hiranyakashipu then, or they wouldn't have come into the material world. And so all that unfolds then. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Aruna, you can
Very well.
start.
Okay, this is my interpretation of what I've read, and I've put it down as per, yeah? Okay, Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva.
Can we see you?
Yes, sister. Lord Shiva is one of the 12 Mahajans and a demigod greater than Lord Brahma. Lord Shiva is a lord of destruction, the destroyer of the ego, lord of meditation, as he is constantly meditating on the Lord Vishnu. He is the lord of dance, Nataraj, and a great devotee and a second powerful to Lord Vishnu. Lord Shiva is worshipped all over the universe as a deity, and most popularly form of worshipping of Lord is Shivling, which is primarily murti or a devotional image in most Hindu temples, where the Shivling is bathed with milk and offered a bale patra leaves. He is easily pleased, gives shelter to anyone who has been rejected. He's compassionate, peaceful, impartial, and sees good in everyone, ignoring all the bad qualities. Lord Shiva appearance day is celebrated as Mahashivratri, which happened once a year. The devotees of Lord Shiva would fast all day and do prayers to the Lord for material desires, and the Vaishnavas prayed to Lord Shiva to become better devotee of Lord Krishna. This night, Lord Shiva and Parvati got married. Lord Shiva resides in Mount Kailash, and beyond this world, his abode is known as Shivalok. Him and Mata Parvati have two sons, Ganesh and Kartika. That's everything. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Wow, that was
Well,
fast.
Yeah, that was good.
Very good. And you'll have to do it in slow motion now.
Get nervous, so that's
No,
why
it was
Well,
good.
That was good.
90 minute speed goes faster.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
What is the relationship between Vishnu and Shiva? Do you know?
He, Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva is one of the carnations of him.
Good. Yes.
Yeah, and Lord Shiva is a devotee of Lord Vishnu.
Good. Excellent.
I
And
could go on a bit more, but that's
no, go ahead. Go ahead. Go on.
like understood.
Okay. You're welcome to say a bit more if you want.
No, that's enough.
Okay.
Yes.
When there is a little difference between them, Shiva and Krishna, Vishnu, especially because when Vishnu wants to touch this world, he transforms himself into Shiva.
Ah, yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
good.
Like
Yes.
milk and curd.
Yes, I read that bit, but yes, yes,
Okay,
yeah,
Good.
yes. I remember that bit now, yeah.
And another
Prabhu, can you explain? Sorry,
one more name of Shiva is Nilkant, because he takes poison. His neck is blue.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he also holds the Ganga in his hair.
Right.
Shraddha.
Shara-
And he's the topmost Vaishnava.
Yeah, she mentioned that, yeah.
meditating on the Lord Vishnu, but
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Sharmila, did you have a question?
Yes, Prabhuji, sorry, Hare Krishna. You said when he wants to transform the world, is that what you said? Then he becomes Lord Shiva?
When he wants to touch this world,
Touch, yeah?
when Shiva wants, when Krishna or Vishnu wants to get directly in touch with this world, they don't do it directly.
Okay.
They don't. They do it through Shiva. So they transform. Vishnu transforms into Shiva at that time. And Shiva is the one in touch with this world. So he's not different from Vishnu.
Hello? Haribol?
Yeah, did you hear that, Sharmila? Are you there, Sharmila? Anyway, we can touch base with her a bit later. So,
Sorry, Prabhu, because I got cut off completely. Yeah, sorry.
so basically what we were saying, when Lord Vishnu wants to interact with this world, this material world, he becomes Shiva. Are you there?
I'm here, Prabhu. Thank you. Yes, I understand. Yeah.
Just like when we have milk and we have a curding agent, lemon juice, we add lemon juice to milk, it becomes yogurt or paneer, right? It becomes paneer.
That's right.
So
that's right. Yeah.
Milk, Vishnu, when in touch with lemon juice, the material world, becomes Shiva, the paneer.
Okay, so it's like Shiva is an incarnation of Lord Vishnu, but as if
yes, but Shiva cannot become Vishnu again, like the paneer can't become milk again. So that's the difference.
Okay, all right.
And we can never become
Thank
Shiva.
you, Prabhu.
Shiva is a category of his own. Very good.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody
Thank
else?
you.
Any questions for Aruna? You can ask hard ones.
Yeah, I did read about that and all these names, but I thought that would go be too long. It's got loads of them.
You actually pitched it right.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
Sure. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well done.
Yeah, well done. Well done for the first effort. And there'll be more. Okay, who would like to go next? Karuna, would you like to do? Or Indulekha?
Prabhu, Chitra will do first. She is ready.
Okay, good. You mean you just used to prepare it? Hare Krishna. So Chitra is talking about Bhisma. Wow. Very good.
I will be talking about Bhisma Dev. There was a king from the Prahlad dynasty who went to heaven after his death. He attended the court of Indra once there, and one day when goddess Ganga was visiting, he stared at her inappropriately, so Lord Brahma got angry and cursed him to be reborn in the same dynasty, and that he would marry Ganga but would be tormented by her actions and experience grief. Meanwhile, elsewhere, the 8 Vasus offended the sage Vashisht, and he got angry, so he cursed them that they would be born as mortals and suffer. However, the brothers pleaded with him to reduce the curse, so the sage the sage told them that the 7 younger siblings would not have to suffer as mortals for very long, since they were following the orders of the eldest brother. However, the eldest brother, Dio, he was going to have to live for a long time and suffer for his sins.
Mm.
Dio was the person who was born as Bhisma Dev, as Ganga's son. Bhishma vowed to be a brahmachari for his whole life, so that in respect for his father, so that his father could get remarried and have children and all. And after that, he took care of the Kuru dynasty for generations. He did not accept any kind of credit or glory or any respect. He gave everything to his nephews. And when his nephews were old enough to get married, he went out and conquered the Swayamvar of the queens. He took the queens away and gave them to his nephews. This incident was the cause of his downfall, for it gave rise to a curse and led to the birth of Shikandi, the person who would become the cause of his death later on. Bhishma Dev also lived his life selflessly and protected the Kuru dynasty according to the wishes of the Lord. When Mahabharata happened, Bhishma Dev forced Krishna, who had vowed not to take up weapons, to attack him by trying to kill Arjun. So afterwards, Arjun and Krishna brought Shikandi onto the battlefield so that they could kill Bhishma, and Arjun pierced Bhishma Dev with arrows all over his body. And after that, throughout the whole Mahabharata, Bhishma was lying on a bed of arrows. Since Bhishma had taken the vow to stay a brahmachari and to give up the throne, his father had given him a blessing that he would be able to die at the time of his choosing, which is why even though he was lying on a bed of arrows, pierced with 100 wounds, he did not die. When the war was finally over and Dharma had once again prevailed, Bhishma decided to leave his body. When they heard that, the Pandavas, Lord Krishna, great sages, and various purified souls, followed by their disciples, assembled so that they could witness the last moments of the great soul known as Bhishma.
Aruna, we can hear. Sorry, carry on, Chitra.
While speaking to the assembled people, Bhishma was singing the glories of Krishna, saying that he was the original personality of Godhead. He also offered his prayers. Although the Lord is equally kind to everyone, he is more inclined to a devotee who is always surrendered at his feet. Bhishma praised the Lord for exhibiting this quality by graciously coming before him at the time of death. Now he expressed his desire to constantly see the Lord, absorb his mind in thinking of him, and quit his body in that condition. When the time came for him to leave his body, Bhishma stopped speaking, withdrew his mind, and fixed his being on the Lord, and offering his prayers to the Lord, he finally left his body and attained Vaikuntha. However, before passing on, Bhisma made sure to impart knowledge to those present. These can be found in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 9, Text 25 to 29. Bhisma first defined all the classifications of castes and orders of life in terms of the individual's qualifications. Then he systematically, in twofold divisions, described counteraction by detachment and interaction by attachment. He then explained by divisions acts of charity, the pragmatic activities of a king, and activities for salvation. Then he described the duties of women and devotees, both briefly and extensively. Finally, he described the occupational duties of different orders and statuses of life, citing instances from history, for he was himself well acquainted with the truth. By then, the sun had reached the appropriate position in the northern hemisphere, and investing all his senses upon the Lord, Bhishma Dev passed away. Thank you for listening.
Very good effort. And you put a good effort into it as well. Good history.
Actually, the day he passes away is coming up soon in 2 weeks' time on Bhimashtami. That's what this Bhishma, sorry, Bhishma Ashtami.
Yeah. Any questions for? Remember, she gives us a hard time. After every canto. Did Bhishma attain the spiritual world?
Can you repeat the question, please, Prabhu?
Did he attain the spiritual world? Did he go to Vaikuntha or?
Yes. I put it somewhere. Yes. He then offered his heartfelt prayers to the Lord, the object of his attraction, and left his body to attain Vaikuntha.
Okay, that's from the Bhagavatam, huh?
Yes.
Very good. I think somewhere Prabhupada says he went to the heavens first. But anyway, Indulekha probably know better.
Maybe the story was very long, so I skipped over some of the more details.
Yeah, no, you got the right balance actually, because Bhishma, like Indulekha, spent hour on Bhishma.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Very nicely done. Thank you for this young devotee who is like doing very good. And yes, while leaving his body, he was just meditating on the four-handed Vishnu Roop, because that was his deity that he was praying all the time. So he reached that Vaikuntha, where Vishnu is with the four arms.
Okay, thank you for that.
Hare Krishna.
Very good, very good. You're the
Bhishma.
oracle on Bhishma.
No, Prabhuji, I'm learning. Thank you.
Very nice. Well done.
Karuna.
Yeah.
I'll go.
Yeah. Go for it.
Okay, I have to apologize. My iPad doesn't have PowerPoint, so it'll be just storytelling.
That's fine.
That's good. Yeah.
Okay, Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. I made an attempt to write this is my own words, so please forgive me if there is any mistakes or anything that
Very good.
comes not right. Okay, there's a backstory before I start about Prahlad Maharaj. Jay and Vijay, who were doorkeepers to the Vaikuntha, the four Kumaras had come to visit but were not allowed by Jay and Vijay. They were simply doing their duties, but here they were cursed. by the four Kumaras, who were saintly 5-year-olds. And Jay and Vijay, in their next life, they take birth as Hiranyaksh and Hiranyakashipu in Satya Yuga. Yeah, Hiranyakashipu had dealings with Lord Varaha. The battle had lasted 1,000 years. So that's another backstory. Hiranyakashipu was the older brother of the two. He undertook penance and became very powerful and invincible. Prayers to the Lord Shiva. Hiranyakashipu was married to Kayadu. When Hiranyakashipu goes off to do his meditation and penance on Lord Shiva, Lord Indra kidnaps Kayadu, and at this time she is pregnant with Prahlad Maharaj. During this journey, Narad Muni encounters them, and Kayadu was safely, I can't read my own writing, safely saved by Narad Muni, and she goes to his ashram. And this is the time Prahlad Maharaj listens to all the recitation of Vedas by Narad Muni, still in the womb of Kayadu. Prahlad was born here at the ashram. Kayadu and Prahlad goes back to the palace, and Hiranyakashipu is obviously happy to have a son, and he was very eager to teach him all what he wanted to get himself famous about. So he wanted Prahlad to worship him, and he expected everyone else in his kingdom to worship him as the topmost. Hiranyakashipu arranges Prahlad to go to Gurukula to learn the vidya of learn the vidya of Hiranyakashipu is the greatest, and so on. The teachers were instructed to do so as well. So in other words, that Hiranyakashipu is the best of all, and there is no higher truth than him. That's what message he wanted to give it to Prahlad and other people too. But Prahlad Maharaj, the genuine Bhakt of the Supreme, did not budge, and he not only meditated on Lord Hari, but got the whole classmates to do so, chanted Lord Hari's name, and the teachers were feeling helpless. Prahlad had a profound effect on the children, and they all joined Prahlad to chant Hari's name. During the time of vacation, Prahlad goes home to the parents. Hiranyakashipu proudly takes Prahlad on his lap and asks him what he learned at the Gurukul. Of course, the answer was not to the Hiranyakashipu's liking. The places Prahlad. Prahlad was placed on his lap, and he was asked other questions too about how he was getting on. So umpteen times after this, when Prahlad Maharaj sort of denied Hiranyakashipu that he is not, he didn't say in direct words, but he says Lord Hari is everywhere, and he is the one he prays for. And so Hiranyakashipu was really annoyed and angry. He wanted to get rid of Prahlad because he would not accept the father as the topmost. And Prahlad wanted Lord Hari to be chanted by everybody else. So Hiranyakashipu tries his best giving poison to drink to Prahlad Maharaj. He throws him in a pit of snakes, which are all poisonous, throws him off the cliff, and many more calamities that he had to encounter. But because of in front, with Prahlad, Hiranyakashipu asked him, "You saying your Hari is everywhere, and you claim he will protect you." Prahlad said, "Of course he will." So Hiranyakashipu gets very angry and says, "If your Hari, if so you think he is in this pillar?" Prahlad answer says yes. So Lord Nrsimha comes out of the pillar to prove that his devotee needed needed to be rescued. The loud roars made everyone shake like a leaf. The backstory here is that Lord Nrsimha came in this form as half lion, half man, because Hiranyakashipu had so much penance, and he was asked for a boon that he should be not killed by weapons, not inside the house, outside, not inside or outside, not during the day or night, not by man or animal. So this form of Nrsimhadev was appropriate. With roaring, he picked up Hiranyakashipu, takes him on a doorstep, but put him on his lap, and it was twilight, and then he rips open Hiranyakashipu's stomach with his chisel-like nails. I think Guru Maharaj would say, Ganga Mata ki jai.
Hey.
Still roaring loudly. No one could pacify Lord Nrsimha. In the end, Prahlad Maharaj gave Dandavat Pranam in Nrsimhadev quietens down. Prahlad Maharaj asked for forgiveness on his father's behalf, and I think that's when he was liberated. So Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. Hari Hari.
Well done. That was very
Hare
good. Very
Krishna.
thorough. That was good. And it showed you worked hard to put that together. So good.
Thank you. I will just say to people who, if they haven't heard or listened to or seen a film called Hari Darshan, my children, when they were young, they loved watching Hari Darshan. It's about Prahlad Maharaj, and the story, what I've just said, is beautifully said. It's an old film on YouTube if anybody is interested.
So you watched the movie, yeah?
I didn't watch it now, but I watched it, I think, about 100 times with my children when they were young.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Otherwise, we're a little short of time anyway.
We got Indulekha Mataji and Karuna.
We got Indulekha Mataji and Karuna. Who's going to come first?
Okay, Prabhuji.
Okay, go ahead.
Karuna beat you to it.
No, go ahead. You two go ahead.
Okay. Hare Krishna, everyone. Please bless me so that I can really talk about great King Janak.
You're blessed.
Thank you. So King Janak was born in the Nimi dynasty. Nimi Maharaj got a curse from Vashishta Muni, and he died because of that curse. And some sages that were there, they churned the body and they brought back to life a son, and he was named Janak. And then his sons also was named Janak. So one of the descendants were named Janak. So Janak was like a host, but each of them had a name. So Janak, the father, mother Sita, his name was Sri Dwaja, and he had a brother Kushadwaja, and their daughters married Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, and Shatrughna. So King Janak was a very pious person, and he was holding different discussions about Harikatha, about the supreme truth in his courtyard. And at the same time, he was performing his prescribed duties as a king. So he was a self-realized soul, and many sages who got bewildered because he would get much respect as the highest of saints. So there is one story about King Janak and Ashtavakra. So Ashtavakra was a great sage. While he was in the womb of his mother, his father was teaching him different things about the Lord, everything. And in the womb itself, Ashtavakra made it sound. So he knew that his father made a mistake. So he just did that. So when the father heard that sound, he was very angry and he cursed him. So he cursed him so that he was born with 8 places in his body with deformity. But he was a very great sage. And as a child, when he went to King Janak court for different religious debate, he stood up and he told all the sages there that they were wrong. They were not saying the right thing about the supreme truth. And then King Janak was very amazed that such a child and with such great intelligence, and he knew so much thing about the absolute truth. But Ashtavakra went in the forest, and sometimes later King Janak went in the forest to search for him. And while he was getting off from his horse, Ashtavakra just told him to stop. So as he was halfway down, he wasn't touching the earth. He was just holding on the horse, and King Janak stayed like that for days in that position, and then afterwards Ashtavakra was very pleased by his surrender and desired to search for the absolute truth. So then he accepted him as his disciple, and they had very good relationship. Ashtavakra blessed him, and often King Janak would visit Ashtavakra ashram many times. And as soon as King Janak would enter the place, the ashram, Ashtavakra would stand up immediately to welcome him. So all of the monks that were in the ashram, they were very perplexed. Why would Ashtavakra do such a thing? Leave everyone, stop the discourse and welcome King Janak. So Ashtavakra knew what the monk was thinking about, so he decided to do something about it. So Ashtavakra asked the soldiers of King Janak to go and tell him while he would be in the ashram, to go and tell him that his palace had caught fire. So the soldiers went and shouted, and then they told King Janak that his palace caught fire. But King Janak didn't leave the satsang. In fact, he scolded the soldiers and sent them back, and told them that they shouldn't disturb the audience like that. And the other monks were really amazed, seeing that King Janak didn't at all bother about the palace and everything, but he was very steady and wanted to listen to Ashtavakra discourses. And then another time, Ashtavakra told one among the monks to come in the satsang and tell the monks that were sitting that the monkeys were chewing their clothes that were hanging outside. So when that person did that, all the monks left the satsang and they went outside to save their clothes. And then when they were outside, then they knew that this wasn't true. And then they could understand the difference between themselves and King Janak, how pure soul, how dedicated, and how he was, why King Ashtavakra would really welcome him when he was coming to the satsang. So that was one story about King Janak, really depicting how Janak was dedicated to learn about the absolute truth. Another story is Narad Muni and King Janak. Once Narad Muni asked King Janak why he was named Videha. Videha means without a body. Even when he goes fighting, he would protect his kingdom, his people. So how is it that he was doing all his duties, but still he was called Videha? So King Janak asked Narad Muni to take a bowl of milk
and to follow him throughout his kingdom during the whole day, and not to allow a drop of milk to spill. At the end of the day, when King Janak asked Narad how did he find the kingdom, Narad said that, well, all his attention, focus, everything was on the milk. So how could he have look at the kingdom? He couldn't look at the kingdom at all. He was looking at the milk. So then King Janak explained that just as he all his attention was on the milk, King Janak also constantly think about his main goal, that he should remember the Lord constantly at every moment, so that at the time of death he will be able to remember the Supreme Lord. So that's why he was called Videha, because he is, even he was in this body and performing all his prescribed duties and everything, but he was always remembering the Supreme Lord and never got deviated from that. So that was Narad Muni and King Janak. And then in Ramayan, I've tried to read little bit, but so many things I couldn't got quite things about King Janak in the Ramayan. But when King Janak heard about Queen Kaikeyi wickedness, he couldn't make up his mind whether he should go to Ayodhya or not. And he asked for counseling from the ministers and sages in his court, but no one could advise him. So he sent some spies to Ayodhya to find about whether Bharat meant well or ill to Ram. So when the spies returned back to Mithila, they informed the King Janak about Bharat's going to Chitrakoot and about his good dispositions and action, and then King Janak glorified Bharat, and he left also for Chitrakoot. So when King Janak arrived there, so he was told by his wife, Queen Sunaina. Before Queen Sunaina met Queen Kaushalya, and Queen Kaushalya asked Queen Sunaina, Sita's mother, to talk to King Janak and to ask him to talk to Lakshman, so that Lakshman could return to the palace and Shatrugna could stay in the forest with Lord Ram. And when Queen Sunaina told that thing to King Janak, King Janak glorifies Bharat's greatness, but he knew that King Bharat would do exactly what Lord Ram would ask him. So sage Vashishya glorified King Janak as a treasure house of wisdom, Dhyan and Nidhan, as very pious, Sujan, as Dharmadhir, very steadfast in religious principles and upholding the cause of virtue. So this is the qualities that I've been able to get from the Ramayan about King Janak, how he was and what type of reverence he got when he had to talk to Bharat and Lakshman and everyone in Chitrakoot forest. So this is about the Ramayana, which I wouldn't be able to get much more. Another story is when King Janak was leaving for his supreme destination after his death. He was passing near hell. Those suffering in hell there, they got relieved with the wind blowing over his pious body. So the sinners of hell pleaded to King Janak to stay there, and he accepted. But Yamraj asked him to leave. King Janak refused and asked Yamraj to release all those suffering in hell. So Yamraj asked King Janak that he should give them, the sinners, all his religious merit that he had accumulated through his prayers to the Lord. Then the sinners would be liberated. So he at once offered them all his merits, and they were all liberated. So from all this, we can see how pious, how King Janak was, and how he had lived a life full of dedication, and how pure he was. So it's an exemplary life that we have to learn from. And we ordinary people, we cannot invent religious principle, and it's difficult for us to understand. But to follow the footsteps of Mahajans, then we can really obtain the mercy of the Supreme Lord. We can learn from the teachings of the Mahajans, just like Lord Shri Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita, Evam Parampara Praptam. So we have to learn from Parampara, we have to learn from great sages, and also from the Mahajans. Then we can obtain the seed of Bhakti in our heart. And through the mercy of Acharyas, we can also learn Bhakti and apply it in our life. Hare Krishna, thank you.
Well done. Very good. A lot of things we didn't know. Very useful information as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Well done. So, Indulekha Maaji.
Hare Krishna, everyone. I'm sorry, I didn't read anything. I didn't go on the internet or whatever. I will say whatever I know on Sukadeva Goswami, because I have something more important to prepare, so sorry. Okay, so Sukadeva Goswami, he was a parrot of Radharani, and once Lord Krishna, when he was meditating in his abode, he was not meditating, but looking down and seeing all these living entities in this material world suffering, he was thinking, if only somebody could go down there and spread the glories of the Lord, so that we can get less like the miseries. So they were thinking like that, and then they decided, Radharani and Lord Shri Krishna decided that Suk, who is a parrot of Radharani, he should go down. And then Suk was coming down in the form of the parrot, and he was coming via Kailash. So when he came down, he was coming down, he heard Lord Shiva narrating the Bhagavatam to Mother Parvati. So he started listening, and then Lord Shiva told Parvati that, how would I know that you are listening to me? Then Parvati said, okay, I'll make a sound. Like I'll respond to you. I will do a sound like hmm, 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 hmm. So Suk was outside listening, and as we know in Kathas, we fall asleep. So Parvati, she also fell asleep. But Suk, remembering that if she doesn't say that, utters that sound, then Lord Shiva will stop narrating, and he would be the loser because he was listening. So he started imitating that sound, and he was just doing the same sound. So Lord Shiva continued the katha, and after some time, when Mother Parvati woke up and he said, "What happened? You just started, and now you're finishing the katha." And Lord Shiva say, "Wait on, did you sleep?" And he say, "I just closed my eyes. I didn't sleep really." So Lord Shiva said, "Who was making that sound then?" Then he went outside. He went outside to look for, and then he saw Sukha hidden on the tree and was listening. So he got his trident, his trisul, and he started running after Suk, saying that Suk was not qualified to listen to the narration, because that was transcendental narration, and Suk was, according to him, Suk was not qualified to listen to the narration. So seeing Lord Siva, Sukadeva started flying away. And in this way, Lord Shiva was following him with his trident. And he reached the ashram of Vyasadeva, where Vyasadeva also was narrating the katha to his wife Kritika. So, and his wife was a bit tired and she yawned. And obviously, Suk, what did he do? He was in danger. He left his body and the soul just entered into Kritika's body through her mouth. And in there, Lord Shiva saw all this, and Lord Shiva said, okay, I will wait here. You will have to come out. It's a law of nature. After 9 months, you will have to come out. So Suk stayed in the body of his mother for 16 years. He didn't come out. And finally, what happened, Vyasdev saw that Kritika was in great discomfort and was in pain. And also he prayed very beautiful prayers to Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva, as we know, he is Asutos. He got pleased very quickly. Lord Shiva got very pleased and he got pacified and he blessed Sukha, and then he left from there. Now, Vyasdev talked to Sukha. They say, Sukha, now come out because Lord Shiva is gone. There's no danger. Then Sukadeva Goswami said, no, I'm not coming out because as soon as I come out, Maya will catch me. I don't want to get entangled in this material world. I don't want to come out. So now Vyasadeva started praying to Lord Krishna, to Vishnu. And he prayed, and then Lord Vishnu appeared and then promised. He promised Sukha that Maya will not hurt you. Maya will not even touch you. So you can come out. And he says, how long will it take to come out? He said, if you put mustard seeds on the horn of a buffalo, the time that some mustard seed take to fall, I will come out. So within second. And so the Lord left, and Sukha, as soon as he came out, he ran directly to the forest. He did not wait for any purification process. He did not say anything to his parents. He just left. He just ran. He ran away to the forest. And Vyasadeva was running after him, calling out, my son, my son. But all that he could hear was the echoing of the trees. And then while he was running away, there were some young maidens, they were having bath in the river. When they saw him, they didn't do anything. They just stayed how they were. And after him was his old father running, Vyasadeva. So all the young maidens, they just covered their body. Then Vyasadeva was asking, my young son just passed by, but you didn't move from where you were. Now that I am an old man, I'm going, you covering yourself. So the young maidens replied that he is not of this world. He is like somebody like in the transcendental world. So he doesn't have any concept of male, female body or whatever. So then he went and hid in the forest. And Vyasadeva could not find him. So dejected, he went back to his ashram, and he was thinking, how do I get my son back? He was thinking that he has to do something. So he taught his disciples, some of his disciples, he taught them the beautiful verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. And he told them to go in the forest and recite these verses very loudly. And because he knew that his son was on the transcendental platform, and as soon as he hears his narration, he will come. So these disciples, they went in the forest and they started narrating these Srimad Bhagavatam verses very loudly. And eventually Sukadeva, he heard these narration, and he came and he asked these disciples, who taught you these beautiful narrations? And they said, our guru. But because Sukadeva, he did not look even at his mother or his father, he just ran away. He didn't know about how his father looked. So then he asked the disciple, can I come with you to learn from your guru? Then they say, yes, they took him. They took him to his guru, to his own father's house. And there he learned about this Srimad Bhagavatam. And he didn't get attached to any of the family members of anything there. And after some time, he left. He left and he was roaming around. And people were, he pretended to be mad, to be deaf and dumb. And he didn't talk to anybody. He didn't wear any clothes. He was naked. And some people, some children and some women, they were harassing him. They were running after him and they were shouting, but he was not at all like disturbed by these harassment. And then while walking, then he reached by the banks of the river Ganga, where there were so many sages, and they were talking to Parikshit Maharaj. As soon as he reached there, all the sages stood up, paid their obeisances, and gave him a Vyasasan, and requested him to narrate the Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj, who was cursed to die within 7 days. Then those people who were harassing him, they realized how great soul he was. And so he started narrating the Srimad Bhagavatam. He did that not to please anyone. He was detached from this world, and he was completely attached and absorbed in the Lord. So he was very effulgent, very beautiful, with all transcendental qualities. So here we can see that both the positions of Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadeva Goswami were unique, because Parikshit Maharaj was the right person to listen to the narration, the transcendental narration. And then Sukadeva Goswami also, he was the right person to describe the Srimad Bhagavatam perfectly, the pastime of Lord Shri Krishna perfectly. So there must be the patra, as we say, somebody who is willing to listen and absorb, and somebody who is qualified to narrate also. So there were lots of sages present there, but he was the one who was befitted for the highest possible place that he could do the wonderful narration. And that's all I know on Sukadeva Goswami. Hare Krishna.
Well done. Very good.
I don't know how long I took. I don't know how long I took, Prabhuji. We cannot hear you.
Okay. Thank you very much. That was very thorough. Very good. Very good.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Question? Any question?
No, I think we've run out of time because we're going to have we're going to run into the children's one otherwise if we're not careful.
Okay.
So we can, yeah, that was really good. Good effort by everybody. 6 Mahajans nicely covered and learned a lot of new things. So well done to all of you. Good effort. Good effort. And actually, I would actually ask those who did presentations, like Karuna, Madhusudan, Chitra, post it on the group. I think you're on the Guru Maharaj's group. Post it on that group, and I'll post it to the other groups that I posted to, because it's useful information, very useful. So thank you. And thank you, Aruna. First time you spoke very, very nicely as well. And Kamakshi, very thorough. So fantastic effort.
I was but I think I was nervous, so I just read it too. Sorry.
No, but that was fine. It was your first effort. It was really good.
And now, what Mataji said, yes, I missed out the Nilkant and what you said about Nilkant.
No. That's fine. You covered. There's a lot about for Lord Shiva anyway.
It said that Guru Tattva, Shiva Tattva, and Radha Tattva. Those 3 things are very hard to understand. So don't fret.
Yeah, don't underestimate what you've done.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
9.5 out of 10.
No, I'd give it 10 out of 10.
Is there more than 10 out of 10? Can we give more than 10? Very good. No, it's really, really good.
Yeah, it's quite
well done. Well done.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you.
I enjoyed it. I what you sent me. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm always there to help you.
Very
Prabhu,
good.
I haven't yet typed everything, so after I've typed it, I'll post it.
No problem, and there's no rush. Yeah, as you can do. Yeah.
Okay, Prabhu.
But well done. That was really well researched. It's not easy to find things on Janak. So good.
Now, it's a good thing to have everything on YouTube.
Yeah. But that takes time to hear.
Yeah, to listen and to write it down.
It takes a lot of time.
Condense everything.
Yeah. No, it's good effort. So let's do the Nishinga, and we wanted to pray especially for Anil's father, Basant Kumar, passed away, I think on Monday. Was that right, Anil?